Hey, this is Andy with Troglodyne here with George. I heard that you were going to stop doing videos about all this corporate BS. Now, is that true?
No, it turns out that, like the author of Conan, I actually have this, giant barbarian behind me screaming, "You must keep writing about this," right? But no, it's just when you have a sort of core realization about these things, even though these are, like I said, not new insights by the least, but they're just not well-known insights, that's for sure. You can't help but start to put some two and two together, right?
Right.
And some of the other people, that I listen to and stuff like that are talking about, well, so why is it that a lot of people get in trouble with, their various relationships and things like that? And one of the core things that happens is when you're expected to be in a leadership position in a relationship, that always means that you have to own your decisions, right? You can't come around at the end and second guess people, or they're going to essentially see you as a passive-aggressive hypocrite. Right.
Yes.
And they're gonna start to get some cognitive dissonance about how things are working. Well, it turns out that the way that companies implement Scrum and Agile methodologies, and you name it, Six Sigma, whatever you want to call it, they all have a sort of common theme with regard to we're going to trust the workers, we're going to empower the workers. It's the same with military transformation, like in the book we've mentioned before of
command culture, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That you sort of have to trust the lowest level units on the ground to actually know what they're doing and do the right thing. Well, that's exactly what Scrum is basically saying. The Agile Manifesto was all about, I want to bring the same spirit that you have when you're being a solo contractor, like I'm doing right now, where you're talking directly to your customers and, you hash things out very, very directly. Everything is really well understood, and each side has to trust each other because it's one of those, well, he either knows how to do the work or not, and he's either going to pay me or he isn't. Right.
Yeah.
And things are pretty, it's going to work or it's not, so it's a simple relationship. But on the other hand, when you get into corporate, they'll organize into these Scrum teams. And in theory, and this is why Scrum and Agile was thought of in the first place, was we could organize things such that everything else being equal, which it isn't, this would actually work to encourage that sort of mindset. This is the sort of incentive structure that would work.
Yeah.
Well, they forgot about selection mechanisms, okay? Because the corporations they're trying to fit this into have this selection mechanism for management, and they're the ones who ultimately say what goes or what doesn't.
Right, right.
And that's basically what my last video was exactly about, this the perverse consequences of this selection mechanism that ends up being a single elimination ass-kissing term.
Right, and instead of then having mission orders and from the management being interpreted by the soldiers on the ground, so to speak, and being executed in a way that you trust the soldiers to execute it, instead you get second guessing after it's done because they didn't really understand what their mission orders were in the first place.
Yeah, it feels like a gigantic rug pull to the workers, right?
Right.
They're sold this vision on, you're going to get that, you're going to get the mission orders, you can do it the way you want to, but inevitably every single time they come behind as management and they say, well, we wanted this and this and this, and they want 30, 40 different changes, especially some of the changes that they made executive decisions as a team to not do.
Well, right, and then you get it to where there's a situation that management, they like Scrum because of the ability to pivot on a dime.
Yeah.
But they
don't like what it produced at that particular moment.
Well, right. And then it's just about, well, we don't like waterfall because that means we couldn't turn on a dime. All we wanted to do was turn on a dime regardless of whether that was a good idea or not. It's just because that allows us to evade responsibility.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what I see a lot of Scrum actually being used for, is this exact avoidance of responsibility, because there's sort of two ways you can react to this, right? Number one is you can start to just harden yourself and be like, all right, well, fine. If they're going to do this to me and always change their mind at the end, I'm going to nail them down with a spec right before that.
Right, which you're back to waterfall.
Yeah, exactly. Or on the other hand, you can basically say, well, it doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to get learned helplessness and not care about the outcome whatsoever.
Which I've seen a lot of.
Yeah, you just check out, and this is what the process creates. I'm trusting the process, baby.
And then you get a lot of people that collect paychecks,
Yeah, exactly. And
which for management, in many cases, is exactly what they want.
yeah, they want this sort of system that doesn't have any kind of risks, that is just, yes, sir, I'm following orders.
Well, and more importantly, people that are collecting checks but not particularly being the most productive means you still have well, we aren't getting enough done. We need more men in here.
Yeah.
I need more direct reports. But you
Yeah,
see, managing all these guys it's so difficult. I
know,
need another person to help me manage these people.
Yeah,
and
and I
give me
need
maybe
more.
a bigger title and maybe some more money.
Yeah, exactly. You see where this all goes, right? And so the other thing about the worker that does find themselves in this environment, what are you going to do? You don't see any way for you to excel. And when you do try to excel as a worker, when you try to go against the tide, like I said, when you go against the grain, and actually do things that you think, well, this is what the shareholder would want, this is what the customer would want, well, it turns out those things tend to be risky, and that's the last thing management wants.
Well, right. Then instead the employee catches a case of tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah, and they get their head cut off, So that's just sort of an encapsulation of why it is things are the way they are, and the practical consequences of all this stuff, and why it gets so emotional in a lot of these conflicts up at the office. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully we won't have too many more corporate videos, but I'll try not to make any promises.
Have a good one.
If I can turn off the video.